incidence down again. But right now it's rising, and yeah, the vaccination efforts are not or are going more smoothly every day. But so far it could have been done better. Let's say it like that.
Right, right. Well, we hope for the best, and unfortunately, traveling is a big restriction, and that is especially for me. I am originally from Turkey, so my mother and my brother and family, they live there, and I haven't been able to visit them during the last since March uh, 2020, and that's of course a bit challenging, and also for students when we are all online these days. It's a bit difficult that they do not have the social interaction with other students. Hopefully, in the autumn, we are hoping to come back to the classroom again, uh, but you never know. It's a bit different world that we couldn't have imagined 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's really really amazing actually, how fast something could change so differently. And last year or this semester I had like the realization half of my studies I've been in lockdown so far.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
That's
interesting.
very challenging.
It
Yeah,
is.
it interesting. Yeah. And we see it also in the performances of students, that they are, especially related to thesis, it is getting prolonged, and uh, they find it challenging to have the motivation high when they are all at home. Uh, so very challenging, very difficult, and they are mostly by themselves, uh, living without their families. So very challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I see that with friends and people at my university who are living alone or who are living in with just one or two people. They say it's really straining on them, and I for myself, I'm very happy that I have roommates who are there in these trying times. But I see we have to start.
Okay.
Um, genau. Murat, I'm happy that you're here, and I'm really looking forward to your keynote about a successful implementation of an innovative research-based learning curriculum. And as the principal lecturer at Jyväskylän University of Applied Science, I hope you bring us all valuable insights into a new way of working with that. So, without further ado, let's start.
Thank you very much, and very good afternoon to everybody. Greetings from Jyväskylä, Finland, where I am located. And I especially want to thank to the organizers of this wonderful event for inviting me to be a keynote at this student conference. I worked at Young University of Applied Sciences for already 12 years at the School of Business. I am a principal lecturer responsible for our bachelor's degree in international business, as well as our master's degree in international business management. This is to orient you to where we are, who we are, a small introduction about Finland. You already know where Finland is. Jyväskylä is a small city, about 140,000 people in central Finland. That is the colored area on the map, which is about 300 kilometers from the capital, Helsinki. This is I would call a student city. We have two higher education institutes, the University of Jyväskylä and YAMK University of Applied Sciences. We are a small higher education institute with about 8,000 students and 4 schools. So School of Business is one of them, and about altogether 800 faculty and staff. You see some pictures from Jyväskylä. We are known for our forests. About 70% of Finland is covered with forests. And Finland is also known as the land of 1,000 lakes. So central Finland especially is home to a number of large lakes. And Finnish people, as you may know, are well known for their saunas. And here you see one of the Finnish innovations, the boats that are sailing in the lake. They have the barbecue possibility at the top, and at the same time, of course, a sauna at the bottom. So you can enjoy the sauna and the lake at the same time. The agenda of my keynote today, I will first tell a bit about the background, about our bachelor's degree program in international business. And then I will tell about the change that we introduced, the shift to the research-based learning curriculum. And then afterwards, this is the change that we introduced in year 2015. And then afterwards, I will share some experiences and outcomes, what we happen to collect from both the students and also the teachers when we are arguing that we have managed to have a successful implementation of that. Our bachelor's degree program is 3.5 years, and we have a quite multicultural student body. We intake about 60 students every year. Nearly half, or even sometimes more than half, of the students are foreign students. Our program has national accreditations, but in 2012, we also received the EPAS accreditation from the European Foundation for Management Development. Before 2015, the structure in our curriculum was quite a traditional one. The first year was it was about the basics of business. Then it was in the second year continuing with intermediate business studies. One of our requirements, and still today is that all of our students, as we are a program of international business, should have minimum 1 semester study abroad exchange. So they should all leave us and go for exchange for a semester. The third year is allocated to that and also their specialization studies. Finally, at the end, they would end with their practical training projects and also their thesis. So this was the situation before we introduced our innovation in the curriculum. So before going into the change, a couple of words about why we introduced this change. One of the reasons was external. The EPAS accreditation was asking our faculty to be more active in research. So that was an external push for us to go for a change. At the same time, we knew that we were limited in our time resources for doing research. That was a bottleneck to fulfill the wish from EFMD. Thesis was a headache for both the students and supervisors. This was especially due to the fact that our students left the campus after their second year. Some of them, as we had a quite large number of international students, after their exchange, they would go back to their own countries to do their practical trainings. Some of them already even got job offers before they graduated, which is common in Finland. So as students and also as supervisors, making the thesis was difficult when they were also engaged in other commitments and they were not with us. So taking these into consideration, we introduced the following in moving to a research-based learning curriculum. We introduced 2 research methods courses in the first year. So in the autumn, they take the research and development course, and then this is followed by the data analysis in business management course in the spring. But perhaps the radical change is in year 2. We call it now the academic year. And during this academic year, at the end of the first year, the first year students are asked to choose their academic tracks. We have 6 academic tracks, and each of our students picks up one of them. This is an important choice because the academic year starts with learnings about the track's contents, followed by a track-related research project, but then the thesis, which used to be at the end of the studies in our earlier curriculum, students continue with their track teachers who become their supervisors and at the same time their career tutors to do their thesis during the second year. Now, with this change, we aim to achieve a number of things. One, we would be able to do the thesis with the students when they are still on the campus. So we would be able to support them fully during this research-intensive activity. And secondly, doing research closely with the students would also enable us, faculty, to have more resources, students, to do publications in areas that are in our research interest. So this is the change that we introduced in year 2015. And perhaps before going into looking at what we experienced with this change, I would like to also tell a bit about the philosophical background of it. Looking at the research-based learning, RBL, literature, we realized that this also develops certain skills grouped here under 3 bullet points: research-related skills, managerial skills, and also more soft skills like communication, leadership, and creativity. And these indeed match with the intended learning outcomes that we set for this second academic year from the academic track, the applied research track project, and also the thesis. So we can see a nice match between what we read in the literature and also what we set for our own program. Perhaps more explicitly, the last 2 bullet points in our intended learning outcomes, the ethical conduct, this is something perhaps that is implicit in research-related skills. We wanted to make it more explicit because that was also something that was demanded by our external accreditors. And personal career development. So we see the relationship between the supervisor, thesis supervisor, and the student as a relationship that leads to the student's career development. So the supervisors are at the same time the career guides for the students. And we are expecting that the students take ownership, the responsibility for their future careers. Looking perhaps from a pedagogical perspective, research-based learning belongs to the pedagogy of integrative learning. And in this pedagogy, what we are doing on the left side in the process is that students are kind of developing their self-regulative knowledge by continuously reflecting between theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. So we have in this process a practice-oriented problem which the students are asked to solve by looking at what has been already reviewed, what has been already done in the literature, and reflecting through their own knowledge to the practice. And of course, this is not an individual activity. This is done in groups. So the social-cultural knowledge in discussions with other students, in discussions with the supervisors, in discussions with actors, stakeholders in companies also contributes to the process. Writing, discussions, mentoring are the tools that help students in the process towards the right of the slide where we want to achieve to develop the students' professional identity, their expertise, but also at the same time, their future agency to become future managers, to become future leaders. So on the right, we see the goals that we want to achieve with our students using this process. Let us now look at the experiences from both the student side and from the teacher side during this last 6 years. We have been collecting data from both our students and teachers. Our students, they say that doing research is new to them and very challenging. Compared with their other regular courses, this is perhaps the activity that is different from those because they need to, first of all, find out the problem themselves, the problem that they want to solve. And then they need to solve the problem. So this is a bit different because in most of the courses, problems are given to the students. And of course, when it is new, they need at the same time, in order to perhaps the order is a bit different, in order to overcome these challenges, they need a lot of guidance from their supervisors. So supervisor guidance is something that is mentioned that they need at all stages of the process. They need it at the early stages even more because this is a process that is not linear. The first phases are more like going upwards, and those are the times that we need support. They need support to push them back, that they can see let's say the problem, or they can find out the problem. At the same time, we also realize from the students that they learn a lot from the process. It's very challenging trying to overcome the challenges, a lot of readings, a lot of discussions, and at the end, they find it a rewarding process. Now, especially during this last year with the COVID-19, we see, and also the students are reporting, that they have challenges, especially when we have the online distance communication, that they have challenges keeping up the motivation. So the thesis is a big project, and during this long time period, keeping up the motivation, especially when they are lonely at their own flats, is a big challenge. Peer support is important. So coming back to our situation before COVID-19, we realized the importance of being together in the classroom very much. And what we also learned from students is that we have 6 tracks, and the supervisors' differences affect the students. So some are more rigorous, some are more helpful, some are more supportive, others are less. So differences between the track teachers has an effect on the students' performance. So that is something that they have been mentioning in the data that we collected from them. Looking at the teachers' experiences, we come to realize that this is a very student-centric approach, and we realize that students are diverse in both their career ambitions and also their skills. Some need more support, others less. But we need to give equal support to all our students at their different stages. And they also go at different speeds. Some are faster, some are slower. I would compare it to having different buses or cars, where as teachers we get into many different buses, many different cars, which go at different speeds to different directions. So that requires, of course, a lot of patience from us, a lot of resources from us. We come to realize that students need more time than what we thought they would need to finish their thesis. The percentage of students who are able to finish their thesis during the second year is, I would say, about 50%. So some can achieve it, others have challenges. So that also sets challenges for us as teachers, because we need to then follow up with those students who need more time. On the other hand, we also find it very rewarding, though challenging, requiring a lot of efforts, because at the end, we are able to co-author conference papers, journal articles with some of our students. So that is the good side, that the time that we spend, the investment we make is indeed returned back to us as publications. When we started the new initiative in 2015, we offered students the possibility to choose 2 tracks. And they chose 2 tracks during the autumn. They did both tracks, but then during the spring, they made another choice to continue with the track where they wanted to do their thesis. We changed this after a couple of years because we realized that the students were not equally motivated. One track was more interesting for them to do their thesis. That track, they were highly motivated, but the other track, they were not so motivated. And of course, this created some differences, different levels of motivations among students, created some challenges in the tracks. We shifted to the one-track system, that students start with one track and stick with that track throughout the second year. And we found that more effective, both from students' perspective and also from teachers' perspective. And of course, we also realized that we are different in our styles. Our subjects are different. And in Finland, we have, as teachers, the autonomy to design our courses as it suits us. So we also realize from the teacher's perspective that this leads to differences in the thesis supervision and also in the outcomes that we get across the tracks. When I said outcomes, let us also have a look with some figures. First of all, we notice that the number of faculty student joint publications increased. That was one of our objectives from the very beginning. So we have had some conference papers, we have had some journal articles from the thesis that our students have been writing. We also noticed that students, some of the good students, have been getting into highly reputable master degree programs thanks to the publications that they have been doing with their teachers. We happen to, I will show you with figures, absolute figures soon, we see that the quality of the thesis improved. So taking the thesis process to the second year, offering more support to the students during that year had an improvement effect on the quality of the thesis. And finally, what we notice is that this also had a positive effect on the students' overall learning performance. Let me highlight that with the figures. Looking at the graduates' mean thesis grades and their mean overall grade point averages. Looking at the cohorts 2012 to 2014, these are the groups that were not subject to the intervention. And comparing that with the cohorts 2015 to 2018, who were subject to this new initiative, we see that there is 11% increase in the mean thesis grades and 8% increase on the students' average grade point averages. Here, perhaps I shall explain a bit about our grading system, which is a bit opposite the one you have in Germany. We have the 0 to 5 grading system. 0 is fail, 3 is a good grade, 4 is very good, and 5 is excellent. So we increase from 1 to 5 in our scale. So the figures also suggest and support our view that our initiative has been a successful one. To summarize, I tried to tell us about our bachelor's degree program, the initiative that we introduced to research-based learning curriculum, and shared with you some of the insights based on qualitative data from our teachers and students' experiences, and also based on quantitative data from the students' thesis and overall grade point average grades. I would like to end my presentation with a picture. This is before COVID-19, as you can imagine, of our activity, thesis tutoring activity in the classroom that we had with our students. And here I would like to thank you also for listening to me and look forward to any questions that you may have.
Murat, thank you very much. That was a very insightful presentation. And of course, there are a lot of questions actually. And I'd like to start with the first. Actually, it's quite controversial. It's regarding the advantages of the conventional teaching system. So, what do you think are advantages of the conventional teaching system before you had your switch that you haven't fully achieved yet in your new approach?
Very good question. Uh, so basically, the advantages of the old conventional system is a bit translating into the disadvantages of the new system. One of the concerns we had, and also this has been raised by our students, is and was whether the second year is a suitable timing to do the thesis. Because normally you would be doing all your courses, develop your knowledge, and the thesis is seen as a proof of what you have learned altogether during your studies. And coming up with a thesis idea after the first year uh, is a challenge for some of the students. So I would say that one of the advantages of the earlier system, if we think about the thesis as the last activity in the process, it can be considered. It depends perhaps from context to context how big of a role the thesis plays when, for example, students apply for their jobs, when students apply for their master's degree. So in some cases, the thesis can be the channel that the students can, even when they do their thesis for a company, find a job opportunity at that company. So I think that could be considered an advantage of the earlier conventional system. The students could be more mature in doing their thesis. So that can be considered, I would say, an advantage of the old system.
The next one is a YouTube question, maybe for a new listener who hasn't heard the whole presentation yet. Maybe I didn't get it, but at what stage do you start with the student research? Right from the beginning of the bachelor's?
Right. That is right from the beginning. So that was the change in the first year, that we introduced two research-related courses to prepare the students for the academic year in their second year. So I would say yes, right from the beginning, with the introduction of the research methods courses.
Thank you very much. I got another question. This one is a personal. Do you think the model with moving the thesis to the middle of the studies is viable for other academic fields and maybe other universities in different areas, maybe also in different areas of the world? Or is it something that's only working at your specific university and you're maybe even only in business, for example?
Well, good question. And I would be answering this by saying that it is to be experimented. Uh, Finland, the education system in Finland, they say it's a experimentation lab. So ours was also one kind of an experiment, and we think that we have been improving the system through the years. Uh, so it kind of succeeded for us, and I think for others, I would definitely encourage the experimentation. We may not, of course, know the legislative environment, if there are any restrictions with respect to this shift in the educational legislation. That, of course, can be a restriction, but otherwise, I think I would encourage trying, experimenting in different subjects, in different fields, and in different countries.
Yeah, I would see this as well as you, because maybe it's because of the Zeppelin University. We also have a similar system. Like in the first year, as a student, you have to write an academic thesis, not a bachelor thesis on that level, but a project to, yeah, I would say to get into this academic thinking. And from that, I think a lot of people benefit, not only at our university, and I think this is also a thing that could be moved to a more state-owned universities. As you know, our university is private. I got another question. Maybe, I mean, it's not obviously a university topic. Of course, a university concerns itself foremost with teaching the students, but how much do you think extracurricular activities, even working on the job, is working on as a benefit in the model you introduced at your university?
Thank you, and I really appreciate the interaction we have. I wish it had been possible to discuss with these stories from different countries. You mentioned your example from Zeppelin University. I would be happy to exchange the experiences also from your side. Regarding your question, our students, bachelor students, they have also other commitments. Some of them are working, part-time working. There are a few of them who are full-time working during their studies. And what we notice is that that has an advantage for the students to come up with the practical problems that they want to solve. Connections with the industry give them the maturity in the process to start. But at the same time, we also know that these kinds of extracurricular activities are a bit taking their time from completing the thesis in good time. So I think it has the benefits, but also from the process perspective, we realize that it is one of the key reasons why students are delaying in the process, that they also have other commitments.
Well, thank you for answering that question. And also, I'm very sorry I have to look at the clock. I wish to thank you very much for being here today and presenting us with your work and the model you have in Finland. And I would say to the audience, thank you for listening as well. We're moving into a coffee break really short. And after that, we start again with other very interesting topics at the International Research Conference. And I hope, Murat, you will also join them, and maybe you find something very interesting, maybe even benefiting your research. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful continuation of your conference.
Bye.